Whereas if you're in a job, you're in a bucket of mushrooms under the stairs and they just throw shit over you. You know what the expression is. Except if you have a job, you could be on sick pay indefinitely.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Morning. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm in the calm between the storms.
Explain.
One lot of guests have left, and one's just about to arrive.
Ah, okay. Who's coming? Can you tell or not?
Yes, I can. Brother Alex from Sydney.
Oh, yes, that's right. You said yes. The redundant Alex, or redundant for a while with a one-way ticket.
Temporarily redundant with a one-way ticket. That's dangerous.
It is quite a combo, actually. Yes. What is it that he does, if you can say, approximately?
Oh, yeah, and he works in telecoms. He's some sort of team leader, project manager, training, sales, or he's very high up. I don't know is the answer.
Okay. And is it Sydney he lives? Where does he live?
Yes, he lives in Sydney. And funnily enough, I just decided to go to Sydney next year in early April for the Superfast Business Conference that I went to that other time.
Yeah.
And no sooner had I made my mind up to do that than Alex decided to come and stay. So I thought, oh, good, reciprocal stayings. And he's just moved into a new flat in Sydney.
Yes.
And then I got a message from Neil Asher saying, would I like to come back to the Gold Coast 2 weeks before Superfast Business to do the same
double reason. So you might be in Oz for a month.
I might be. Yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't bear thinking about, really. A whole month away from
I agree.
But yes, I'm definitely determined to make it a longer time of it this time, because I left on Monday, arrived on Tuesday, went home on Sunday, and 3 days conference in between. Not a lot of.
No, that's worse. That's worse. Yeah. Your second prospect, a month there in two different places, is a much better one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And especially as, there's loads of people I'd like to go and see at the Gold Coast. Brett McFall's there, Dan Norris and co are there. That they've got their brewery down there. That the Merrymaker sisters are down there. I'd love to go and see all of those people. So, interestingly, we talked about Brett McFall this week, a client and I, because do you remember he had a Delaware LLC? Yes, I do, yes. Yes, what my client was thinking of getting one of those. I said, well, the only person I know who's got one of those is Brett McFall. Yeah, and I know there are other people like Sarah Starr who have American companies, and I also know there are companies who set it up for you and do all the work for you. Yeah, she's got that company, but what we're worried about is how that will. I won't go into it here, but Sarah Starr's quite a useful resource. Yeah, absolutely, because I think she's got one in Vegas. It's more about how it segues with the UK tax situation. Yeah. That's what we're interested in. Yeah, absolutely. What else? Other news this week from your week? I've got something really rather marvellous to say. Oh, good. I'm a bit thin on news this week, so feel free to go bonkers. So I went to Right Club yesterday, and just as we were getting settled down, Heather, who is married to Roy, who cooks, said to us, a man was looking for you the other night on a motorbike. I immediately thought of the gorgeous Angelo on his Harley Davidson, but I couldn't think why he'd be looking for me. Is he the one with the fishing boat? No, that's his dad. He's got a motorbike. You don't have both. Oh, that's his dad. Okay. Yes, right. Yes, rather intriguing family. Yes. And so anyway, this chap was obviously lost, and they said to him, can we help you? What are you looking for? And he said, I'm looking for Nicola, the writer. And they said, well, funnily enough, she's a friend of ours. Yes. And he had a red T-shirt, and apparently he was quite a handsome Greek chap, and he could speak okay English, and he had short hair, so it wasn't who I thought it was. And I couldn't think who this was, Judith. I spent the whole afternoon trying to puzzle it out. He wasn't trying to deliver you a pizza? Well, no. Mario from the Savlaki bar knows my house very well. Yes, good. So, I managed to keep and then we in a Right Club, they use these writing prompts, and the writing prompt fell open to a page called Seduction. So I started off my free write story with a man on a motorbike arriving outside my house. Indeed. But then
Not altogether sure that would seduce me, to be honest. But anyway, nice try. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then the funny thing was that they couldn't remember which day it was. And I was thinking, I wonder if it was Sunday, because Sunday I was editing the podcast quite late at night. It was about 12:30, and someone knocked on my door, or so I thought. And I just went to the door and I called out, who is it? And nothing else happened. So I thought perhaps I'd been imagining it, or perhaps because we all have our doors and windows open most of the time here.
Yes.
At that time of the night, I had the door shut, but I had all the windows open. And I thought perhaps it was one of the other houses. Perhaps someone knocked and it just sounded like it was my door. So I went to bed, nothing happened. Anyway, so we all went out after Right Club yesterday to Melissa's Taverna and had a lovely meal, and then lots of other people arrived as well, who've recently arrived in the area. So they were telling the story about Nicola's mystery admirer who was driving around the streets of Stuart looking for her.
Yeah.
And then somehow we got onto the car hire story, which was that I'd managed to cut you'll this is another story that'll make you laugh. Because Pete kept telling me they were coming for 10 days, I went into the car hire place and said, I need to hire a car for 10 days. And actually, it was 13 days when you actually looked at the dates. Well, the lady in the car hire place looked at the dates, but obviously didn't count up how many days it was. And I was saying 10 days and didn't look at the dates. So by Saturday night, they were expecting the car to come back. And Sunday night, they're starting to get concerned now because they've got another booking for said car. And Monday night, we got a phone call saying, when are you bringing our car back?
Yeah.
And I thought that was very typically Greek, how relaxed they'd been about it. And in the course of the conversation of me apologising profusely, Peter saying he'll take it in the next day and pay the difference and all that stuff, she said something along the lines of, Napoleon was driving around looking for you, or looking for the car. That's right. Napoleon was driving around looking for the car. And I thought, why didn't he ring us? He had our phone numbers. Why didn't he ring? And then it all clicked into place. And I thought that must have been Napoleon on his motorbike looking for me.
It's a marvellous name, isn't it? A great short story, Napoleon looking for me. Napoleon looking for me. Yeah,
I know. And he had a red T-shirt on, and apparently that was him. So no secret admirer for me.
Stuper is a bit low tech, To solve a problem, we send a man in a red T-shirt out on a bike to look for you, rather than. I mean, it's a little bit like down here, which I sometimes call the land that time forgot. We have landlines, people phone, leave messages, people come in, listen to message, and call people back. I mean, who does that anymore?
No, exactly.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
And I just think, why didn't he ring on Saturday when the car was due back?
I could have solved it. I could have solved it from my desk from here. That problem.
The thing that everyone found most amusing was 1 minute I had a secret admirer, and the next minute it was Napoleon just wanting his car back.
Oh no, he was a repo man the next minute. Oh dear, what a laugh!
But only in Stupa could these things happen.
Indeed.
What about your week then?
Oh, well, nothing nearly as exciting and glamorous and story-worthy as that. But tomorrow, which is Friday the 14th, I begin for the next week or so, fingers crossed, because I'll tell you why fingers are crossed, but I'm beginning my first house sit for somebody who actually doesn't need their housing at all, but is just lending me their house for 7 to 9 days. But in anticipation of October's very busy. I'm booked all over the world, which I'll tell you in a minute. But not all over the world, all over England. But in anticipation of being away from my home base for, I don't know, on and off for 8 weeks, I've had a haircut. In this tiny, damp Somerset town in which I live, I found at 18 quid a pop the best hairdresser I've had in living memory.
Oh.
So haircut done Tuesday, toenails done yesterday, all in preparation for a glamorous trip to Luton tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And on the way back from Luton, I'm popping into Trowbridge in Wiltshire because a couple have contacted me and they want me to learn the wrinkles about looking after their 4-storey house with an Arga and taking parcels to the post office and getting thyroid medicine into their elderly cat. So I'm doing that. And then I'll be with them for the first half of October. And the second half of October, I'm in Suffolk near my 2 bestest friends, which is cool. And so in tomorrow's newsletter, I'm appealing for people to fill in the gaps. A week at the end of September would be nice. And all of November, some of December, but I've had 2 nice offers for Xmas itself. One from a listener, Joe Dodds, who's away, and one from Veronica Pullen, who will be on a cruise for Christmas. And she lives on the Isle of Widget. So Facebook has done all of this for me, even though I'm on all of those sites that Sarah keeps recommending that I'm a member of and which costs money to be a member of, which I don't find an easy way. I've got 0 result from that and all my results from Facebook. There you go.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, I tell you what it is. They don't know me on those sites, and they know me on Facebook.
Yeah, that's right. You've got the...
Yeah, do you want a nice, sensible woman to come and stay and look after your house and your cat and your parcels? Yes, off we go then.
I can't wait to hear how you get on with getting the thyroid medicine into the elderly.
Well, I quizzed her quite closely on that, because as a long-time cat owner, what that brought to mind was you have to wrap your cat up in a towel and hold it upside down where the claws can't get you, and poke this medicine down their throats, and then they spit it out, and then you chase them around the house all day, which I don't have the energy, the stamina, the knees for anymore. But she said, oh no, it's easy. She only has it every other day. Some of it is squeezed into a piece of cheese, which she loves, and the other one is like a treat. You just hold it out on your finger and she takes it.
Oh.
So thyroid medicine for cats has clearly caught up with the fact that if cats can swerve it, they will.
Yes. Swerving medicine. Oh, my word. So what's fueled your fire this week then?
Well, actually, it was the response to last week's podcast, our first one after we came back, which will sound odd when people are listening to this because there's one in the middle they haven't heard yet. But our loyal fans saying it was a stonking show, and it was. Even I could tell that. I listened to it 3 times before and twice afterwards. And
really?
Yeah, I love listening to our shows. I think a couple of things. One, absence makes the listener's heart grow fonder. And 2, whatever you do, a creative break is a good thing for all sorts of different reasons. You know, when we don't have a break, it risks becoming drudgery. I mean, I've got almost nothing to tell you today because last week I downloaded a month's worth of news into you, which we spread across 2 shows. And so my fire was fueled by how happy everybody was to see the podcast back.
Well, how interesting. So I'm just about to say the exact opposite.
Oh.
I'm feeling very unfueled because of the break that I had. I'm having a lot of trouble getting back into it because I didn't just take a break from our podcast. I took a break from the Own It podcast. I took a break from my own vzine, production. And I'm really finding it very difficult to get back into it. The Own It.
Well, that's what I told you last week. I said I hate going back, and you said, "Oh, I love it. I love September and all new starts."
Yes, well,
I'm being weird.
I think it's all right with the Own It podcast and this one because we've got a set format which we're sticking to. But I'm really struggling with working out whether I want to start my vzine again, and most of that is because I can't track really progress from that, no matter how hard I try. So,
no, and that's dispiriting.
It is,
and it's the anomaly about our podcast as well, because it isn't normal in marketing. There is some measurement, quite a good deal of measurement. It's one of the things I always say to you when you read me the stats. It's like, oh, don't know where any of it came from, do we? No, it's all a bit imprecise, isn't it?
Yeah, theoretically, I should be able to track the links from the vzine into new subscribers. But it just doesn't work in practice because we put the vzine out onto YouTube, we put it out onto iTunes. It goes on.
So you can't have different links from different places.
No, it's just far too painful.
Yeah.
And and they're UTM, Google UTM links as well. So it's, really quite extraordinarily difficult. And I just think I don't know what to do because the other 2 things don't cost any money to do. The vzine, I think, is something that makes me stand out and stand apart from other people like me. And it's also walking my talk in terms of, using new technology and everything and being everywhere online in a very leverageable fashion. It's easy for me to do because I just stand in front of a camera for 10 minutes every week and Phoebe and Sarah take it from there. But that does cost money. And I don't know if the money is being returned.
Very well spent, yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if
well, because it's generalised marketing, you see, not specific marketing. And we quite often, we go from A to B and back again on this, or A to Z and back again on this on the podcast, where we go, you've got to do that generalised marketing as well. I'm glad you've brought this up, actually, because I have something to discuss, and this would be a good place, which is I'm thinking of stopping doing the videos that I do every week to promote this show because nobody watches them. If you go and look at our stats on our page, nobody watches them. So what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely. Except, the point of them was to make it something easy for people to share. Well,
then they're not doing that either.
All right.
They're not doing that either. They're not looking at them. They're not sharing them. And if you share content that nobody's watching, I can't see what the point is. Oh. So, for instance, I can tell you that last week's. Oh, no, well, 40 views, 20 views, 99 views, 83 views, 150 views. But when you go into it, it says, those people spent 3 seconds looking at it or something like that. So it isn't worth it, I don't think.
They're not long views. They're just glimpses on
yes.
online.
And I make them all under a minute so that's easy for people. So I don't think I'm going to do one today.
What, are there any click stats?
There are. They're all on our page, by the way. So if you go into the video tab on the Own It, the podcast page, you can see stats till the cows come home. Do you want to do it now?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. I think we're looking at insights. Then I always go to posts, which shows you with a sort of orangey slug how many people did what. I mean, you might disagree with me. The video advertising Alice's show last week reached 82 people, and 15 and 9 clicked and reacted. Imposter syndrome, which is now much older because we did that before our holiday, 160 people reached. Now, interestingly there, Chloe's was reached by 453 people, but she may have done some sharing of her own.
Yeah, absolutely. But today's show is live, and that one reached 258 people and 95 clicks.
Where's that? Yes, yeah.
So,
and that was Chloe as well, but Chloe did quite a lot of sharing, I think.
That wasn't a video, though.
No, it wasn't, but the one above that is the video.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I suppose we've got to decide whether the effort...
No, well, that's exactly the point. That's what we're discussing here, the return on effort. And for me, it doesn't feel worth it, but I think I'll go a couple of weeks without, and let's compare.
Well, I think the other thing is that most people would be boosting video content because it's extremely cheap to do it, but we haven't got a budget for it on the show.
No.
We're not about to do it.
No.
And I think really that's my issue with the vzine, is that Facebook won't let me boost it anymore. They've taken exception to my business model and they won't let me boost a vzine.
So is there another way of doing that?
Well, I've got to think about whether I can change the format and whether I'll get away with it if I change the format. Because they did go through a little phase. I did some business tips and I also did a couple of Facebook Lives, and they banned all of those. But I appealed them, and they've now reinstated them and letting me run ads on them. So I think the automatic algorithm takes exception, and then when I appeal and get a real live person to look at it, because they were saying all sorts of stupid things like, it had profanities in it, or I was being detrimental to one racial group or other. I mean, just nonsense that wasn't true at all.
Yeah,
I
think somehow and along the line, by these various platforms, you've got marked down as whatever they don't like.
Spammer, yes.
Yeah, and they're using it as a broad brush. I don't know. I mean, when you consider their own crimes, it's completely unacceptable.
I know, but we can't get into that kind of conversation because otherwise you just start self-harming immediately. So I've been watching. I'll tell you what I've been doing. I've been watching your lovely friend who lives on the narrowboat.
Lisa. Yeah,
I'm completely addicted to her videos.
Yes.
And especially now they're doing up the bathroom on the.
And you would think. I mean, honestly, doing up the bathroom. It's not exactly a thing that makes you rush home from school, is it? Oh, quick! I've got to get home to watch a video about doing up the bathroom. But you're finding that gripping, are you?
Well, and also I like the format. So she takes out her camera all the time and just films little snippets of her day.
Yes. Well, she does that for our low carbers as well, because she's a low carber, and some of her ones are so funny about recipes and hopping on the scales and things. She's such a love. I love her.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if changing the format isn't.
Well, that was my point, wasn't it? Whatever you do, you've got to have a creative break. It's a good thing for all sorts of different reasons, and the alternative is drudgery. And I think maybe people get blind to my videos, get blind to your vzine, and therefore let's shake them up and offer them something else.
But it only takes one new person to see it and then become a client. Except all my clients recently are people I know. So I'm concerned that by not doing the vzine, I'm not attracting new people.
However, do you see what we just both said? Because I said it with my house sitting as well. That's online networking, effectively. Online and offline networking. Well, all of my house sits have come from Facebook, where I work very hard to make relationships. And all of your do-it-for-me clients are people that you knew already. However...
my new clicks and
I'm thinking of Jane and Peter came via a former business activity.
Yes. But what I'm saying is any new...
Yes, you're not filling your pipeline.
Yes, that's what I'm worried about.
Right.
Yes.
So there's your question. What shall I do? What's the most effective way of me filling my pipeline? But where I was going with that was with the people thing. I think there's a trend beginning today. Judith Morgan is drawing attention to it on the 13th of September 2018, but it's been in the pipeline for a long time. And there are some people who will say they never went for the online stuff. But, relationships matter.
Yes.
And those ones with Jane and Peter are long term.
Yeah, but yes, but they're also not, I mean, they're business relationships for sure, but I don't want to do too much more of this. I want to stick with Jane and Peter, and make that work.
Yes, quite. Well, maybe that's your answer.
So what are you saying?
Make your money from joint ventures.
Oh, terrifying to think about, but yes, I'll
you don't like your eggs in one basket, that's why.
No, I don't.
But you've got other eggs.
Well, I've got Clicks and Leads Academy, and that would be my long-term basket.
Well, then your one question is, what's the best way? And don't rush to an answer because you don't need to. What's the best way of attracting people into my funnel for Clicks and Leads Academy? Maybe a JV with somebody, an army of affiliates.
Possibly. Anyway, I'll mull it over.
Okay.
Mental health, then. Focus of the week.
Well, I know what you're talking about. So introduce it to the listener, caller.
Yes. Well, I was wondering what happened to Steve Bartlett from Social Chain, because he's moved to America. He's starting a company in America, and I haven't seen any videos on YouTube for a while. So I thought to myself, I'll just go and hunt him down a little bit. And then, funnily enough, he popped up on my timeline because he started one of these new Facebook TV channels, that are becoming all the rage with the big boys. You have to be invited to start one. And it's a bit like your own TV channel on Facebook, I suppose. And he'd just done a very thoughtful piece to camera about mental health, because he's quite a big hip-hop fan. And, of course, Avicii has just, who is a young hip-hop gentleman of repute, has just committed suicide, sadly, or they think he has. And then you and I started talking about Elon Musk, who was having a meltdown that I didn't even know about. And it's Amy Winehouse's birthday on the 14th of September. So another sad example of people being ill. And I was watching the thing about Robbie Williams. Was it Robbie Williams? No, not Robbie Williams, although he's had his own challenges with mental health in the past. It was the comic, the very famous comic who did Good Morning Vietnam.
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, that's right. And they were saying, that he had anxiety and paranoia and everything. And apparently the most dangerous age for men is 46, when they start to go through some sort of midlife crisis. And I was just thinking how terribly sad it is about all these different mental health issues and people having problems of all kinds and being sad and unhappy. I mean, my brother's coming over and he's been quite down for a little while now. So whether that, change of job will help him or not, it remains to be seen. And I imagine we'll have lots of late night conversations about the whole topic. But it's just so sad. I find it so sad that people are so stressed and they feel out of control with their lives and they're not being taught coping strategies. And I thought we could have a discussion about mental health generally, our own mental health, being an entrepreneur in mental health, and how you can help to maintain your mental health in a positive way.
Okay. Well, despite what you said about Robin Williams and 46, in terms of young men committing suicide, I understand that people more of Avicii and Steve Bartlett's age, men more of Avicii and Steve, but are the peak demographic of young men committing suicide.
Yes.
And therefore, that group, well, it's quite staggering numbers, I think. I've got two nephews in that demographic. I don't think they're at risk at all. But actually, you don't know, do you? That's the whole point. When I was a young woman, we didn't discuss this.
Yeah.
Now we discuss it all the time. It's out in the open, and that seems like a good thing to me. And what is the surprising thing is how many more people are affected by it than you think. Now, when you talk about Amy Winehouse and Avicii, the thing that worries me about that is that they are, well, the music industry is a swamp that preys upon people, eats them up, and if you're lucky, it spits you out, but if it doesn't, it swallows you whole. And I think they're victims of that, and I think the model industry is that, and the entertainment industry is now, we know. And our world is very rotten, and now it's visible, and people take that hard. I take that hard. I take that hard. I'm always talking about oh my God, have you seen? I mean, there's lots of good news about as well, and there's reasons to be jolly, and there's funny stuff, which I'm going to tell you about later today. But the world's quite a hard place at the moment. A lot of articles yesterday saying it was a decade since the financial meltdown, and that people's lifestyles and economies have shrunk in that time, which I've been telling you for ages. There's been no comeback from 2008 financially for anybody, and it's hard to go on grinding and grinding and grinding. Normal people grinding on is over a decade with nothing to look forward to is hard.
Except that we've been in a 9-year bull market ever since then. The stock market,
but that doesn't affect you or me.
No, absolutely.
Or the people who are committing suicide, or who can't get a job, who've lost their job and they're trying to keep their family together. They couldn't give a shit about any of that, because that just affects rich people.
That's very true. Or people who've educated themselves to take advantage of those situations.
Or who, well, it's irrelevant to the people we're talking about. Mental health that doesn't mean that those people that are in the stock market don't have mental health issues either. No. But I think the music industry, your Amy Winehouse and your Avicii examples are, as I said to you this morning, a subgroup, because I think there are extra special. And didn't who was it? Ariana Grande's ex-boyfriend this week died of a drug overdose as well, I think, and he was 23 or something. It's a very specialised, high risk of death scenario, the music industry.
The other thing, there's a lot of people, older people, because I'm out here and I hear a lot of people talking. We get into a conversation and someone says, "Oh, my auntie or my uncle or whatever." I think there's a lot of older people killing themselves as well, by even if not directly, but by omission. They stop taking their pills, because it's actually quite hard to stage a successful suicide. So people who are succeeding at it are really, really, really serious about it. But I think there's a lot of people who are very unhappy as older people, and they just want to fade away, but they can't, because we're not allowed to.
Well, I think you're right. I think many's the time in the last decade I have contemplated suicide, but there are two reasons why I haven't done it and why I will never do it. My mental health is not. My mental health wouldn't allow it. I'm not off my head. Okay. Now you don't need to be off your head, but you need to be temporarily out of your logical brain when it comes to do that. And B, I'm not brave. I couldn't take an overdose. I couldn't cut myself. I couldn't jump off a bridge in front of a train. I couldn't do that. But I tell you what, this is really interesting. If you scroll your mind back, and I'm not sure yours will go back this far because you weren't working then, but when I was working for the firm of accountants in 1977, so I was 22, there were various reps that used to come to the house where my wealthy boss had his office and sell us things like IFAs and so forth. And one of them was the man that used to sell us what I used to call permanent sickness insurance, but was called permanent health insurance. And permanent health insurance is a very expensive thing. And when he turned up to the house with a quote for me once, which I'd asked him to give me, and bear in mind I would have been spending that monthly premium from the age of 22 to my current age of 63 with no return on it if I'd insured my health, because I haven't had any issues in that time. He showed me a graph of the most likely thing in 1977 to happen to people, which can only have worsened in that time. And it was that one would have a mental breakdown of some description. And I went, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me. And I just used it as a reason not to buy the insurance. And I don't regret that decision now. And I have that belief that's not going to happen to me. However, life at times has got very dark. And I'm not surprised that some people who aren't as mentally healthy as me or as resourced as me take it further, leaving aside the drug people for a moment who, don't necessarily know what they're doing in that moment. But I'm not surprised older people in pain, who aren't having much joy in their lives, take things into their own hands. And I wish that was legal in our country, actually.
Yeah, so do I.
Bit of a rant there. But I think what is a good thing about this topic is it's all out in the open. We can all talk about it now.
Yes.
And that what you discover from Facebook is it affects a vast percentage of people you could not imagine, who before in my childhood would have been hidden and never talked about it, and some strange uncle would have offed himself and nobody would have said anything, because the children shouldn't know because it's too scary. Now it's all out in the open. But I don't think that means necessarily that people who are, I don't know, what's the expression, temporarily, what's the thing where you're not thinking properly in the moment? There's an expression for that.
Yeah,
I don't think in that situation you necessarily reach out for the right agencies of help, or that somebody you do reach out to who might be able to help you recognises what's going on.
Yes, and you have to be quite assertive, as I found from two or three experiences in my life when other people have been in crisis, as they call it, and on the verge of hurting themselves. And you have to be quite assertive. But I've got to say, the emergency services are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, thank God.
It's just there is absolutely zero follow-up. You're lucky if some person rings you and says, "Are you okay now?" And
you know why that is? Because there's no funding for it.
Oh, no.
Because there's no money, because we've been in an economy for 10 years. These things, and are declining. These things are all connected. You know, it's a dark prospect and there's no support. There is some support. There are people doing good work. You do hear, well, yeah, but it's not enough to address the situation. It's not, because we didn't know. It was a hidden statistic. We didn't know how many people needed support. And, you know, occasionally I have a client who has a family member going through this, and we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You find out what to do in that situation, but you feel powerless.
Yeah. And apparently feeling powerless is one of the biggest causes of depression in the first place.
Yes, quite.
Because we don't feel we've got any power over our lives and how we live and the decisions we make. And
that's right. And you're not well enough to actually discover empowerment either.
Yeah. Well, so what you're saying is when you're in, well, I know when someone's in that situation, they don't listen to anything you suggest.
No.
They won't go to the doctor.
Because they're not in their right mind.
Yeah, yeah. Difficult, isn't it? So how as entrepreneurs can we be positive and positively look after ourselves? Because being an entrepreneur is pretty stressful, isn't it? Even at the best of times.
Well, I don't think well, yes and no. The difference between being an entrepreneur and being an employee in this situation is, I don't even know whether this is true, but we have a modicum of control over our own decisions. Whereas if you're in a job, you know, you're in a bucket of mushrooms under the stairs and they just throw shit over you. You know what the expression is. So I think actually if you were, well, except if you have a job, you could be on sick pay indefinitely.
Yes, that's true.
So I'm not sure that there's a right. I think perhaps special challenges of being self-employed. I think entrepreneur might be too big a word in this example. Elon Musk is our entrepreneur, but I'm not sure that the rest of us are in the main. But now Sarah Swanton, who I met via our podcast, her business, sarahswanton.com, she is trained in hypnotherapy, meditation, NLP, all that sort of thing. And she targeted her skills towards entrepreneurs. Because she recognised that it required quite a degree of mental health support to get up every day and do it for yourself.
Yeah, because you have to be motivated, you have to be, you know, up when you're meeting clients, you have to feel capable of recommending your solutions as the one for the person who may or may not pay you, and you have to keep brave through all that. There's the entrepreneurs coach in America as well, isn't there? There's that top chap who's a top psychiatrist who works with leaders and entrepreneurs in America and charges an absolute fortune for it.
Yes, it's Steve Hodderman. Is it one of the Steves?
Yes.
Yes.
And then there's, of course, Michael Neal, who works very much with leaders and entrepreneurs.
And has had lots of blackness in his own life and wanted to top himself when he was a teenager or a very young man.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's an answer to this. It's a fact of life, and at least it's more out in the open now than it once was. And I see people on Facebook struggling a lot, people who are honest and share that. I don't share my struggles on Facebook. I'm not sure it would help me to do that, actually. I don't want people fossicking about in what's wrong in my life. I don't want to be that. That's where I draw my grey line about what I reveal. Yeah. And I certainly don't have mental health struggles, but I think life is a struggle. And part of that is being older and the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, you know, the things that happen to one where you feel out of control and that it's unfair.
Yeah.
But they haven't led me, fortunately for me, down into some difficult to get out of or cope with impossible, let's say call it impossible, because I think actually if it's difficult, we're all in that place now and again. Impossible is where you can't do it without some help or support, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So when something health-wise sideswipes you, for example, and you can't then earn and things like that.
I know a lot of people living with that, and I think if you had a chronic condition, that would affect your mental health ultimately as well, because how do you you meet people that keep cheerful, but how do you keep cheerful? Especially if you're like me and like you, operating alone in the world largely.
It's very interesting because my son is just off to college and he's very up and very happy and very excited about life. And Phoebe's feeling a little bit even though I've just introduced her to someone who could change her life completely. I'm not convinced she's going to take action on that introduction because she's feeling a little bit
Yeah. And I think I would say the same of me. If I'm feeling a little bit worse sometimes, I probably wouldn't take action on something that might be good for me. I think that goes hand in hand with what we're discussing, doesn't it?
That's a worry, though, isn't it? You know,
well, sometimes you can only do things when you feel good about yourself. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't help someone else. You can't make someone else do something. It has to come from them, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what can we do to, on this rather gloomy topic, what can we do to promote positive mental health and well-being and look after ourselves?
I don't know.
What do you do?
I don't know. I'm completely out of my depth in it as a topic. When you suggested it this morning, I thought, well, it's worth having a mooch around in, but I don't know anything. Uniquely, in 195 episodes, I know nothing about mental health or how to manage it or cope with it.
Oh, my God. But you must do something to keep yourself cheerful. What do you do that makes you're the biggest advocate of self-care on this podcast?
Yeah, I'm not sure that keeps me cheerful. I think I self-care around lack of cheer. So, you know, having a manicure and a pedicure and a haircut this week is self-care, but they don't cheer up my mental health for longer than 20 minutes.
Oh,
do you see?
I do, but I feel quite...
Well, I think they fall into the category of self-care. Self-care is a different thing, which is, you know, you love yourself enough to take care of yourself. And I think the things that you listed somewhere, you listed it on Facebook this morning, the things that we do, you know, journaling, meditation, all that thing. Have you got that list handy? Read it out.
Yeah, I know what it is. It's mainly journaling, meditation, hobbies, music, cooking, watching box sets, going to
yeah, I think they're self-care, and I think they are a life of hobby. They are, you know, they're the other half of what this podcast is all about. If we'd had this conversation 2 years ago, you didn't have as long a list as that. Now you've got a long list and you're having a life. I don't think that's the same as what we're talking about with keeping Amy Winehouse alive, or Avicii, or people who are struggling in a dark place. Because, as you said, nothing's going to cheer them up.
No, and the reason I proactively started doing all this stuff was because I felt bad. I remember I started journaling on a day when I felt particularly low. I just moved into Heather's spare room. She was off to Paris. I was on my own and no prospect of that changing at all. And I thought, I just can't go on living like this. So I started journaling and getting it all out of my head. And it works wonders. And then I tried different forms of meditation. I did the Paul McKenna one when you suggested that book. Do you remember that?
Yes, Change Your Life in 7 Days. Yeah,
I loved it. I love those. And then I'm now listening to Mind Valley, 6 Phases of Meditation. I like that a lot too. And I knew I had to start filling my life with hobbies. And when Steve first started, I didn't have a clue what I might enjoy. So it was a question of just trying things and seeing what stuck and what I carried on.
I tell you what has helped me in the past. I'm just remembering it now. In the 90s, when I lost my home in my first recession, I became a volunteer at what in those days was called the Home for Incurables up Putney Hill. Fortunately, it changed its name later to the Royal Hospital and Home, Putney. But I volunteered in the music therapy department because music's one of my things. And these poor people who'd been injured in car accidents and things and would be in chairs with very restricted mobility for the rest of life could still bang a tambourine and take some joy out of it. But the doctors and nurses there warned me that even the doctors and nurses, let alone the volunteers, don't stay very long because it's such a very difficult thing to have in your life. But when you feel very low, like us, again, not the dark people, because nothing cheers them up except perhaps Prozac, that kind of managed solution. When you feel very low, gratitude, counting your blessings, realizing how much better off you are than other people, and that you woke up this morning and that you're in good health and the sun is shining. You know, very simple strategies for us. I think gratitude is, sometimes it's really difficult. You're digging the bottom of the barrel, aren't you? You put a load of washing machine on, you had a cup of coffee and you open the front door to the sunshine. You are digging the bottom of the barrel. And other days it's exciting. It's difficult. This is I don't have any answers for this one. I'm not qualified in the mental health area. And I think the other one is self-care, but doesn't cheer me up when I'm in that middle place.
Yeah, gratitude is definitely one that's helped me enormously. And so has coming to live somewhere where I don't have so many decisions to make all the time. I've taken my stress levels
A
down.
simpler life.
Zero.
A simpler life, yes. I've been a fan of the simpler life ever since I sold my accountancy business. I agree with you there. Fewer possessions, fewer concerns, fewer keeping up with the Joneses. And actually, it's opened you up to all sorts of new experiences, which I think is lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Was there anything else I wanted to say?
I think we're just going to have to say we're aware of it. We don't know how to solve it. Actually, what we'll do is let's invite the listener to, if they're a member of our, Facebook group, let's open a discussion. Tell us what's worked for you or people that you love. Do you have any answers when we don't?
And also, Kate Cocker is making her positivity playlist, which I saw.
Oh, yes, so she is, yes.
Extensively too.
Yes, I think music is a game changer, a mood changer. Certainly in a second, one track can make a difference. Yeah.
That's true. I like the one Happy by Pharrell. That makes
yes,
me happy
indeed.
every single time.
Yes.
Good stuff. Okay, so we think there are lots of things you can try, and come along to the Facebook group and suggest yours or tell us what works for you.
Yes.
See what we're suggesting and see if that works for you too. Good stuff. Okay, so let's move on to word of the week. Mine is recharge, because that's what I'm doing these couple of days. I'm trying to do as little as possible until Alex arrives tomorrow evening, because it will all start again then. Hopefully he'll be good at entertaining himself and, do things like hire.
Well, you can encourage that, can't you?
Yes, I think I will. Yeah. What about you?
Mine's treasure, unsolicited testimonial from somebody who said, "You are a treasure in my life." I thought that was a nice word.
Oh, that's lovely, yes. Very nice. And what about your projects, if you've got any on the go at the moment?
Yes, I have, actually. I was going to talk to you in here about stopping doing the video, but we managed to squeeze that into Fuel Your Fire. I got my extra one, possibly 2 in my September low-carb group. I wanted 10, and last week I had 8 or 9. One of them, somebody's dropped out. 2 people have dropped in. One of the drop-ins sent me an inquiry and then immediately left on some kind of quite arduous-looking ocean-going challenge. So I don't know whether she'll become a client, but she made inquiries about becoming a client. And the other one lives in sheltered housing where there's a group lunch every day, which might be a special challenge. But anyway, I've struggled occasionally with my low-carb clients this week in a way which also happens in my business coaching too, though much more rarely these days because I've been with most of my clients for quite a long time. But the struggle is, and I know you'll recognize this one, it's clients who want Y, well, no, let's say they want X, but they do Y to sabotage themselves from having it. And for me, it's like, you put the wrong key in the keyhole expecting the door to open. It just won't open. It won't budge. I'm not losing any weight, but I fell off the wagon here, and here, and I'm not planning in advance, and I'm grumpy that I'm not losing any weight. That kind of thing. Now, that's an oversimplification. And I think my struggle, I want to talk about my struggle here, not theirs. My struggle is I teach 2 things that were easy for me. And my game, therefore, also running a business and losing weight with low carb. Other people struggle with those 2 things. And I want to make it easier for them. And what I'm doing all of the time, even when their experiences are not the same as mine, is going, I wonder how I can help them with that. I'm wondering. And sometimes it seems harder for me to help them find their answer. And this week was one of those weeks. Not always, it's not always like that at all. In fact, I relish the challenge, but just this week, it's like, I kind of wanted to go, in fact, I rather ranted when I was having my pedicure yesterday about, a client who was paying lip service to wanting one thing and doing another to stop themselves getting it.
Yes. Fascinating, isn't it?
It is fascinating. Thank God it's fascinating. Yes.
Right. So is that your projects?
Yes.
Great. I have Secret Art of Huna coming along nicely. I'm onto the membership site part of that now. And Jane is off in fact, she's in Hawaii and she's creating her content from Hawaii and then just uploading it to Drive. And I'm turning it into all sorts of lovely videos, which are about to starting to be shared everywhere. And we're getting bookings for her November Huna Live workshop, so that's really nice. That's going very well. My joint venture masters project with Pete was we took 2 days, 2 mornings, And we recorded about 20 videos, which will be module 1 and module 2, at least, of the training on how to become a joint venture master. Quite a lot of work still to do on that, but I've got started with the website at least. We're having a conversation with Mr. Fugel. There's some membership site required there, and I don't know which business for. So yeah, all my projects are ongoing. So I had a quick look at our stats. We are on target to do as many downloads as last month, and let's hope that we do more than that, because of course we're actually actively putting out new content.
Okay.
So I'll be interested to see what happens with that. Who or what's impressed? We've depressed ourselves, haven't we, talking about...
No, I'm all right. Have you got something groovy in here? I've got 1 or 2.
Okay, I would like to tell you that I'm using a new theme for WordPress, which is called Thrive Themes. Not to be confused with Thrive Cart that I talked about the other week. I thought they were the same company, but they're not.
Good.
So Thrive Themes also have Thrive Leads, which are light boxes. They have Thrive Timers, which are countdown timers. They've got Thrive Quiz, which is, all of these
nice.
Gorgeous products.
Yes, nice gizmos. Yeah.
Yeah, and the best thing of all is that you can become a Thrive member, which gives you access to everything for $268 a year, which, when you think that lead pages cost $79 a month alone, and that just gives you lead pages, I think Thrive member is actually a stonking deal, and I'm finding it very, very easy to make beautiful looking websites with it.
Oh, good.
And I'm not graphically gifted, as you know.
No. Well, so few of us are.
Yeah, so I'll put the link in for Thrive member, nicolacairncross.com/Thrive member. And I'm looking forward to building, because you get a 25 site license, so you can build up to 25. Not that I recommend that. We never recommend, do we, Judith, more than one website, one woman?
No.
Is it one woman, one website?
No, but it might, but it could be good for people who make websites for other people.
Yes, exactly.
Like Sarah. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, what's impressed you?
Well, I've got 2 here. I was going to talk to you about Serena Williams. Did you hear what happened to her this week?
Well, there's been a bit of a punch-up, hasn't there?
Yes, in the way that John McEnroe used to behave on the tennis court. Do you remember? We didn't like it and he used to say, "You cannot be serious," at the umpire. But the umpire was a bit mean to Serena. But I don't know enough about this topic to talk to you about it, to be honest, because I didn't watch it live, and all I know about it I've read from the newspapers. But there seems to be I don't know, demographic's not the right word. There seems to be a concept, I don't know even that's the right word, of an angry black woman. And I'm an angry white woman, so, I feel for Serena, to be honest. But anyway, I'm not going to talk to you about that because I'm not well enough equipped on the story. However, I feel for her. I'm going to talk to you about the Land's End apostrophe.
The Land's End apostrophe. Oh, yes, go on then.
Yes, well, apparently when you... Land's End have never really, until this week, made up their minds about whether or not you have an apostrophe in the 2 words Land's End. And indeed, where it should go. Is it the end of the land, or is it the end of the lands? But this week, they had to make up their minds because they're having electoral boundary changes, and the council wards needed new names. So they had a debate, wait for this, for 90 minutes, including grammatical input from a Cornish history expert. And they decided in the end that they would indeed insert an apostrophe in Land's End between the D and the S, which I'm delighted about. But one of my Facebook correspondents, when I shared it yesterday, one of them said, "It's about time too." Another one said, "This made me unreasonably happy." But my favourite one was from Kat Noble. I don't know whether she listens, but she says, "I just love the fact that they had to have a council vote regarding an apostrophe as if it was something subjective." Rock on, Kat! Exactly, it isn't subjective. To be fair, though, they were not debating that. They were debating whether or not to change the name to correct the spelling of their name. But anyway, so the debate was, shall we correctly insert an apostrophe or leave it out forever? But the funny thing was, when you Google Land's End, I often Google things to see what the correct spelling is, where I'm not sure. And if you put in land apostrophe S end, it used to say, "Do you mean Land's End without an apostrophe?"
Oh.
But that'll have to change now. But anyway, you know how I love an apostrophe, so this whole story has cheered me up no end, actually.
This is like one of those bits in our Right Club podcast where I doze off in the middle.
Yeah, is it? Well, actually, do you know what I was going to do? What is Chris Barrow doing? Is he cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats?
He is.
Well, do you know what I was going to do? I was going to Google John O'Groats to see if that's got an apostrophe in it.
It will have.
No, it hasn't. Only in between the O and the Groats, so it's not.
Exactly. Do you know
So
what
no, that's not really an apostrophe at all. That's how you spell a word with O in the front.
Do you know what a groat is? I don't know what a groat is. I need to know what a groat is now.
Yes, it's some kind of old-fashioned weight or measure or currency, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I don't know. Well,
I'll look. Is he cycling from the Land's End to John O'Groats?
Yes, he is. Yes, with a team with Ashley Latter, the sales chap.
Yes, I do.
A few other dentists.
Yeah.
They're raising lots of money for charity, and they're doing about 600 miles a day, which is what we did when I drove across America. God. Oh no, that can't be true. They must be doing 60 miles a day. They can't.
60 miles or 60 kilometres, more likely. People like that tend to measure things in kilometres these days. Now, a groat is any of various medieval European coins, in particular an English silver coin worth about 4 old pence, issued between 1351 and 1662. And these days it means a small amount. But I bet John O'Groats means something else completely different.
I think we should save this for next week, because I think these sections are sending our listeners to sleep quite nicely. So let's save that for next week and we can send them off to sleep.
Oh, I don't agree. I think it will split the audience right down the middle as it's splitting you and me. I think this sort of thing is absolutely fascinating.
As per usual, we are.
Yes, we are. Oh, God, you don't think it's important that Land's End has an apostrophe in it?
No.
I'm going to have to review my relationship with you, and not for the first time, it must be said.
Grammar police. See you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Sing a sweet melody. How do they do it? Not a care and suffering. Wanna step into their world. Who holds the key? It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.